Hello and welcome to Currents Up Close. I'm Craig Johnson. I'll be hosting our program today. And we are going to be talking about the Cedar Falls Community Foundation. And our guest is Russ Curtis. Welcome, Russ.
Thank you, Craig.
Russ is the president of the Cedar Falls Community Foundation. And we'll be discussing various aspects of community foundations in general. We'll talk about the impact that the foundation has on Cedar Falls, and we'll also talk about ways that our viewers can become involved with the program. So there are a lot of aspects to community foundations, and a lot of people have maybe heard about them, but they really don't have a lot of experience with them or understand what they do. So Russ, could you talk about just what a community foundation is in general and what they do?
I'd be very happy to do so. Generally speaking, a community foundation is a public charity, and what it's designed to do is to allow citizens of a certain area to pool their donations together for the betterment of the community, to support specific organizations, to support specific programs, to create their own legacies for the benefit of the community. And the community foundation movement is worldwide. There are over 1,700 community foundations across the globe, and there are roughly 700 community foundations in the United States. So the Cedar Falls Community Foundation is a part of that worldwide and national movement.
So how does the Cedar Falls Community Foundation fit within Iowa? And maybe more specifically, what does it actually do for Cedar Falls?
Well, the mission of the Cedar Falls Community Foundation is to focus entirely on the needs of Cedar Falls. We are governed by a local board of 21 members, all of whom are Cedar Falls residents. We were formerly known as the Cedar Falls Civic Foundation, and I think sometimes people still think about us in those terms. But to better identify ourselves with the community foundation movement, we changed our name. Now we are part of, well, there are 17 accredited community foundations in the state of Iowa, of which the Cedar Falls Community Foundation is one.
Okay, so we have really kind of a long history with the Cedar Falls Community Foundation, starting out as a civic foundation. Just briefly, could you kind of go back and take a look at how it formed and how we got to where we are today?
Sure. Well, the Cedar Falls Community Foundation was formed in the mid-1970s. It was actually a brainchild of our former mayor, John Cruz. And it was designed to be a vehicle by which citizens of Cedar Falls could pool their donations and contribute towards the support of a number of capital projects within the city of Cedar Falls. When I first came to Cedar Falls and became associated with the community foundation, we had roughly about $150,000 in permanent assets. There was a significant change that occurred in 1999-2000 area of time. The Round Trust, which has been a part of the Cedar Falls community since the late 1960s, was transferred to be under the auspices of the Cedar Falls Community Foundation. And secondly, we had, as you recall, a very successful campaign to build our new, well, what was then our new library in Cedar Falls. It's hard to believe it's about 16, 17 years ago.
It doesn't seem that long, does it?
No, it doesn't. And as part of that capital campaign, the citizens of Cedar Falls, in addition to the money needed to actually construct the library, actually created an endowment of over $1 million to support the programming needs and infrastructure of the library. So today, we've grown from that $150,000 in assets to over $6 million in assets.
That's quite a growth, isn't it?
Well, and it's increased our, well, obviously our responsibility and the work that we have to do. We meet, our board meets on a quarterly basis to review the operations of the Community Foundation. 2 years ago, or no, almost 3 years ago, we hired our first staff person. Cindy Sweet is now our executive director.
Maybe this would be a good time just to show who the members of the board are, because the board members of the foundation are, it's really important to know that they are from the Cedar Falls community.
That is correct. And our board meets on a quarterly basis, on a calendar quarter basis, on the last Thursday of the month. Citizens of Cedar Falls are certainly welcome to attend those meetings. A lot of our work is done in committees during the interim, and we have a very hard-working board of directors, because this is a volunteer-driven organization.
It is, and I think one of the important aspects of an organization like this is that since everyone is from the community, it's probably safe to say that they know a lot about what's going on in the community and what types of projects or programs would be beneficial.
Right, and that's entirely true, and it's very important. That helps us do our job better. And I guess the one thing I would also say, that if there are citizens that have ideas about how our community could be enhanced, improved, you know, we'd certainly welcome the opportunity to sit down and talk with them and to maybe see how the Community Foundation could be of assistance to them.
So if we look at, you know, it's jumped to about $6 million in assets, what are some of the types of programs that the foundation actually supports? I mean, what has been the past history of the foundation? And just, you know, what are the different types of projects that people have contributed to?
Well, for example, the Community Foundation was instrumental in getting the Falls Aquatic Center going. We made a very consequential initial donation as far as the construction of the new library. More recently, we have worked with the Cedar Falls Historical Society as they are working and looking to expand their space. And then, well, you can talk about the Cedar Falls Women's Club. You can talk about the well, I just mentioned the Cedar Falls Historical Society. And we've also been supportive of organizations like the Cedar Bend Humane Society and the Hartman Reserve in terms of the construction of their interpretive center.
And, you know, what about like the Ella Round Trust? I mean, that's one that really was a foundation to the foundation, actually.
Correct. Well, and that's a very good example of how individuals have, you know, made a consequential difference as far as Cedar Falls is concerned. The Round family, of course, was an extremely prominent family here in the community, and the Round Trust was actually created by Ella Round under her will. And when it was initially created, it was around $260,000 in assets. And today it's over $800,000 in assets, but more significantly, it has given away over $800,000 in assets. And we're rapidly approaching here in the next year or so, having given away over $1 million towards capital projects here in the Cedar Falls area, such as the Gallagher Bluedorn Performing Arts Center, the Unidome. Again, we mentioned the Aquatic Falls swimming area, and the rec center here in Cedar Falls.
So how are the funds managed? I mean, obviously that has to be something that is managed very well for someone to contribute funds, and especially like a legacy, something like
Right.
that. How is it assured that the money is managed properly?
Well, We have a relationship with the private client group of U.S. Bank to manage the assets for us, and they operate under the supervision of our finance committee, and we meet with them on a regular basis. I guess another point to make, to emphasize, is the fact that we are a fiduciary for these funds. These funds have been left to us with certain specifications as to how these funds are to be used, and it's our duty and our responsibility to manage those funds effectively and to comply with the donor's intention.
So that's a big part of what the board does, isn't it?
That is correct.
And given the membership on the board, this is another reason why it's important to have the funds overseen locally by people who have a background in the community and a real desire to make the programs work.
That's correct, and we make a very strong effort to recruit people from a variety of backgrounds in the community so that they can bring their business, their financial, their investment expertise, plus just their knowledge as community volunteers to the board.
So how does this compare with other foundations, say across Iowa or nationally? Do these all work about the same? Are there different types, or are we pretty similar to what?
I think we're very similar. I mean, obviously there are other community foundations which are significantly larger, but in terms of just the basic operation, we all operate basically the same.
So would you say that, for someone who is maybe considering being part of this, and we're actually going to talk more about just how people get involved here in a few moments, so we're not going to go into great depth here right now, but for someone who might be considering a legacy or considering, for example, maybe some current programs that are going on to donate to, how do they go about that? And maybe we should talk more specifically, not so much about the legacy yet, but about existing programs that are happening right now in Cedar Falls, where how do they learn about those types of programs?
Well, one of the ways they can do it is just by going to our website and learning about that. The other thing is to actually contact us, and we can talk to them about it. And the contact information is up there on the screen. And actually, a great place to start as far as learning about the Cedar Falls Community Foundation is by going to our website there. That we have a comprehensive information regarding the foundation there. It has all our financial information, plus a listing of the funds and a lot of the programs and so forth that we have been involved in. And included on the website is our annual reports. Both the 2015 and the 2016 annual reports are up there. So if a person can go there to the website, I think they'll get a very comprehensive view of what the Community Foundation does.
And that's good to know. And there's actually a physical location for the foundation as well.
Right. In the last year, the Farmers State Bank was very gracious to offer us space on Main Street, right across from the Cedar Falls Public Library.
Okay, very easy to find.
Very easy to find, and we have our sign and our logo in the window, so you just walk into the bank and turn right, and you'll be right there at our office.
And it's probably really good advice for people to call or email to maybe get an appointment.
Right. Our executive director, Cindy Sweet, is there on a regular basis on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. But she's only one employee, so she may be called elsewhere. So for a person, if they would call or email and schedule an appointment, we can make sure that either she or I are there. In fact, we can meet with people at any time. It's not restricted to those 2 days of the week.
Okay, we have reached the halfway point of our program right now. So what we're going to do is take a short break. And then we will come back and we will tell you a little more about the foundation and how you can actually become involved in it. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
Talking about inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at getschool.com.
We connect here.
We connect here.
We connect here.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Welcome back to Currents Up Close. I'm Craig Johnson, hosting the program today, and our guest is Russ Curtis. Russ is the president of the Cedar Falls Community Foundation, and Russ is here to talk about the foundation. And in this segment, we are going to spend most of our time discussing how you can become involved. And there's a number of ways that can happen, but I think before we get to that, we're going to start off with some really exciting news for the foundation. As Russ was talking about the history of the foundation, we have now evolved to a point where we have something really exciting to talk about.
Right. Well, last year we were advised by the National Standards Board of the National Council on Foundations that we had achieved accreditation as a community foundation. This was the culmination of a 2-year process by which we went through and thoroughly reviewed our procedures and policies, and to make sure that they were in compliance with the highest standards for community foundations. And when we submitted our application last year, we were told that it would take approximately 12 to 18 months to hear back from them and to achieve that accreditation. So we were very surprised and very pleased when within about a month after we had submitted our application, we heard from the National Standards Board, and they had 5 relatively minor comments, which we made the appropriate adjustments to our policies and procedures for those and resubmitted it. And roughly about 4 weeks later, we received word that we had achieved accreditation. So that was a testament, I think, to the quality of the job that we had done over the last 2 years. And it was and what accreditation means is that the donors can be assured that the Cedar Falls Community Foundation operates within meets or exceeds the highest standards for community foundations, so that donors can be assured that their donations are going to be handled in a professional manner and in a manner that's consistent with their directions and their intentions.
That really says a lot about how it has been managed, doesn't it?
Yes.
Not only now, but actually leading up to this point.
That is correct. And the board was extremely supportive of this effort. It required a substantial effort on the part of everyone associated with the Community Foundation to get this accomplished.
So, what does that really mean to the community then? So you have a foundation that's accredited, and you've alluded to this obviously, but does that give them more confidence then?
Well, hopefully it does. I mean, it means that we are a professional organization, that we are in the mainstream of community foundations. As we mentioned earlier, there are only, we're one of 17 accredited community foundations within the state of Iowa. And one of the benefits that we derive from being an accredited community foundation, it means that we qualify for individuals who make donations to a qualified endowment at the Cedar Falls Community Foundation and qualify for what is known as the Endow Iowa Tax Credit, which is it's a significant benefit because it's equal to 25% of what the donation to the community foundation is. So combining that with the income tax deductions that you derive from making the contribution, it significantly reduces the cost of making a charitable gift, of creating a legacy for the community of Cedar Falls.
So there's some obvious cost benefits to that. What does that mean to the community, that these tax credits are available? Does that make more money available, actually, to be used by the community because of the tax credits?
I would think so. I mean, it's I mean, you know, when you make a gift to a charity, I mean, there's obviously some cost associated with doing that. And, you know, these deductions, these credits provide an incentive to people. I mean, and so, yeah, they would make more money available.
Well, then, someone who's looking at having making a contribution for legacy can feel assured then that given the accreditation, the foundation is well run.
Right.
It's following what we could call best practices then.
Correct.
So they would have confidence that they could contribute the funds and the funds would be used for what they want them to be used for in general. Can you talk about what some of those options are in terms of if I wanted to make that kind of a donation, what are some of the options and ways that you can donate the funds, and how can those be directed, or, you know, just what are those choices?
Well, broadly speaking, obviously, you know, a person can make a contribution or a donation to the community foundation during their lifetime. And when they do that, they can contribute the funds to an already existing fund, and which has been set up for a specific program, a specific organization, or they could create their own fund, and with purposes that they've decided are appropriate for the community. And what we would want people to do is we would encourage them to contact us, and then we can kind of talk through this, help them come up with a plan, a strategy to accomplish their legacy goals, and we would work with them and their financial advisors. Also, obviously, another way to do it, and this has resulted in some very consequential gifts to the community foundation, is a gift through one's will or trust as part of one's estate plan. And we just had an example of that, well, several examples of that in the last year. Robert Eller, who was a longtime employee of the University of Northern Iowa, he worked in their audio-visual area, and one of the things he did was every year was to work with about 20 to 30 UNI students, and he developed a great affection and for these students. And one of the things that Mr. Eller felt very strongly about was the importance of giving students the opportunity to travel abroad and experience different cultures. And during his lifetime, he individually funded you know, a number of scholarships for UNI students. But he passed away last February, and he left the bulk of his estate to the Cedar Falls Community Foundation to fund study abroad scholarships for UNI students. And beginning in 2018, we will have roughly about $40,000 available to assist UNI students when they travel abroad. Another example of a planned gift or a state gift was Saul and Joan Diamond, who were kind of long-term fixtures here in this community.
Well known.
And they established a fund to support art and cultural activities, as well as promote the history of Cedar Falls. And this year we're going to be able, as a result of their generosity, to make a contribution towards the Cedar Falls Authors Festival, which will be taking place this summer, and also to support the installation of a public art sculpture called The Nest in the North Cedar area.
So I mean, it's really important to look at these different types of funds and the kind of legacy people have left, because sometimes it's easy to take for granted some of the things we may have, but
right.
it really happens because of people's work and their interests and willingness to support projects like this.
Right, and we can go back to other individuals like Robert and Shirley Berg, the Berg drugstore that was up on College
right.
Hill, and Catherine Ray. I mean, each one of those left consequential gifts that are benefiting not only the Cedar Falls Public Library, but the Hearst Center for the Arts and the Cedar Falls Rec Center and its programs.
Okay, so what happens, say with the board, and when someone is requesting to submit funds or to donate funds?
Well,
how are they accepted? What does that process look like?
It's very important for us that we have a thorough understanding of what the goals and objectives of the donor are. And when we prepare, there's an agreement that is prepared. It will set forth the rules of operation for the fund. It will clearly set forth what the purpose of the fund is. And as I said earlier, we have a fiduciary and a stewardship responsibility to make sure that those monies are administered and distributed in accordance with the donor's intentions.
So it's clear that Cedar Falls Community Foundation is really here for the benefit of the quality of life in Cedar Falls. Let's take one more look at just how people can contact the foundation.
Right.
We can put that slide up there, and why don't you go through that?
Well, obviously, one way is by, if a person has a question or a comment, is to go and either email us or contact us by phone, and then, or they can write a letter or send a request for information to our post office box, which is listed there, and also just to learn, just get really detailed information regarding the Community Foundation, to look at our website.
The website's very important. It's been updated.
Yes.
And so there's pretty much everything you need to know. And if there's something you don't know that isn't on the website, you can certainly contact us through the information provided on the website. And so there are many ways that as citizens that you can get involved with the Cedar Falls Community Foundation, and it provides numerous opportunities for ways that we can benefit Cedar Falls not only now, but also well into the future. We're out of time, Russ. Can you believe that?
I can't either. It seemed like the time went very quickly.
No, exactly. Half hour went by very quickly. That is really all the time we have today for our program. We really want to thank you for joining us, and spread the word. The Cedar Falls Community Foundation is here, and there are many opportunities for you to be part of that. So go to our website and take a look at some of those opportunities, and get involved, because Cedar Falls is a great place to live, and it's because our citizens do get involved here in Cedar Falls. So thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time on Currents Up Close.